What is going on, boys and girls? It's your pal right here, the one and only Black Avenger, aka the Black Azrael, Lee Sanders of the RCWR show, coming at you with some breaking news. This is a special shout out to my DC, Maryland, Virginia residents. But hey, those of you that are familiar with what I'm getting ready to talk about, we would love it if you guys could interact, post those comments down below. Whether you love them or you hate them, we just all want to just come together on this one. Definitely talk about this, so you all are more than welcome. But a little bit of sad news to report as former DC Mayor Marion Barry is dead at the age of 78. I did my very best to gather as much information on what all has come about. Definitely a shock to me. I usually kick off my Sunday mornings checking out Meet the Press, also catching up on some of the pregame shows before football comes on. And the only reason why I knew about his passing was something that I do on my weekends. I like going to the NBC4 Washington website, and that's pretty much how I have found out about the news. And it goes to say, direct quote, "It is with deep regret that the family of former four-time DC mayor and Ward A councilman Marion Barry Jr. announces that he has passed." Read a statement early Sunday from Barry's family. Now, folks, Barry had been hospitalized at the Howard University Hospital Thursday after complaining of a urinary tract infection. He was released this past Saturday, and his family members said he seemed to be doing very well, seemed to be very responsive to the treatment that he had got. In his own words, he was feeling fantabulous. His words, not mine, said Barry spokeswoman Latoya Foster at an early morning press conference at the United Medical Center. Now, Sunday morning, or several hours ago, as we're reporting this news on November 23rd, 2014. So earlier this Sunday morning, Barry had visited with his son Christopher and then went to go grab a bite to eat somewhere. On the way back to his home from the car, Barry collapsed. His driver brought him inside the home. He was unresponsive. From there, Barry was taken to the United Medical Center at about 12:15 a.m. Sunday and was pronounced dead about an hour later, around 1:45 a.m. Meanwhile, current mayor Vincent Gray, he has ordered flags at all DC buildings to be flown at half staff beginning Sunday in Barry's honor. In a statement released by the incoming DC mayor, Muriel Bowser, she said Marion Barry gave a voice to those who needed it most. And for you guys that really loved Marion Barry, you may want to check out a special edition of Oprah Winfrey's Where Are They Now? Apparently there is an episode in which they catch up with Marion Barry to find out what he's been up to as he talks about his new book, Mayor for Life, The Incredible Story of Marion Barry Jr. This was something that was always going to air tonight, November 23rd. They had it set up weeks in advance. Just kind of odd the way things kind of play out there. Most interesting. Of course, as you all know, Marion Barry, he came into the limelight back in 1990 when the FBI, they did a sting operation where they had saw Barry smoking crack at a hotel, of which Barry said, "Hey, I was set up. These guys had set me up." And when you know, he would eventually get sentenced to prison. He's in there for a hot minute. He comes out in 92, and just off the break, the man becomes a Ward 8 councilman doing a nice clean sweep over his incumbent. So, I mean, you just hear that, you're saying to yourself, how the heck is that even possible? It's because of the type of person that he is. Marion Barry always has displayed that type of person who, look, I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to be black. I know what it's like to be poor. He always had that type of a connection with many people in DC. And I can tell you guys from my own personal experience, I remember when I came to DC back in 1992, me and my mom, I mean, we pretty much had got off of a Greyhound and we barely had a dime in our pocket. And I don't know how, but my mom was able to figure out a temporary shelter we could go stay at, and then from there it just created a nice domino effect where eventually we were able to get into our own legitimate apartment and everything. My mom was able to find work and all that, and it really kind of traces back to the different type of programs that Marion Barry had helped set up in the district that me and my mom were able to capitalize on, because if it wasn't for those programs implemented by the time we came to DC, I don't know where we would have been, quite honestly. I also think about the summer works programs. I mean, look, if you were black and you lived in the district, the summer works program, you ask anybody, those of you that's not really familiar with the summer works program, you ask anybody in DC, summer works programs under Marion Barry, nothing but smiles. And definitely for me, nothing but smiles. One of the first jobs I had worked down at the mayor's office. Actually, I wasn't working directly with the mayor, but I actually had an intern job at the Office of Policy and Evaluation. I basically answered phones. I did secretarial work. I also did scheduling. Uh, I did statistic collection. I did all types of stuff. It was like a really, really cool experience. I had enjoyed it so much so that I would come back years later under Mayor Anthony Williams, and I would do it again. And that had almost set up a domino effect, because eventually, through another program, I would get the opportunity to work at the brand new FedEx Stadium. So the summer works programs for me definitely have played a profound impact on my life, especially at the point where I was, because I thought to myself, okay, well maybe it would be more cooler to just hang out on the streets with my friends and we go roam around, and but then I kind of realized, well, what they're kind of getting into, yeah, that can lead me maybe to a path that's kind of bad. That might involve jail time and all that other. I wanted to be a good kid. I was kind of smart back then, because I knew in order to make things happen, like if you wanted comic books, or you wanted Magic the Gathering cards, or you wanted to go get some chips or whatever, you had to have money. So for me, I learned at a very early age that if you want nice things in life, you got to get the money. And you can either do it the illegal way and maybe end up being killed on the streets, or you could maybe take advantage of programs like with what Marion Barry set up, and that sets up good networking to the point you do a good job there. Those people say to you, hey, look, when you're done with school, if you want to come back here and work for us, you're more than welcome to do so. And I'm happy to say that the jobs I did under the summer works programs, the people loved me so much, they told me, they said, look, when you're done with school, come back, we'd love to have you on board. But I never did it, because I'm one of those type of people, I get bored real quick, but you ask anybody about the summer works programs, they'll tell you, it was a joy, and Marion Barry had a large part to do with that. I mean, anytime, I never had the opportunity to see Marion Barry walking down the street, but I've heard stories from my friends, my family members. I just saw Marion Barry the other day. It's like, what, really? And it would be so cool the way they would talk about it, because it was like, it wasn't like, hey, guess what I saw? Guess who I saw? I saw Marion Barry. It wouldn't be like that. It was like, hey, the other day I saw Marion Barry, man. Yeah, he was over at Shopping Food Warehouse. And it's like, oh yeah, how he been? Oh, he been all right. He was talking about his back and everything. Like just a casual friend. Never met the man before in their life, and they would just talk about him, just so carefree, so loosely, like that. Legendary DJ of the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, Donnie Simpson, He had this to say on his Facebook page. I love following Donnie Simpson, by the way. He always posts some good stuff. I love checking up on him from time to time. Donnie, if you end up seeing this, man, you got to come back to radio, man. We really miss you. Really do. Here's what he had to say. I want to read it in its entirety because as I was reading this, bullet point after bullet point after bullet point of nothing but goodness was what Donnie Simpson was saying. Here's what he had to say. I'm so sad this morning. DC lost its mayor for life, Marion Barry. He died early this morning and the cause is unclear. He had been sick, but was released from the hospital yesterday and said he was feeling fantabulous. But shortly after midnight, he collapsed, was rushed to the hospital, and died at 1:45 this morning. He was 78. Because of his personal weakness, he became the butt of many jokes nationally and internationally. However, for the people of DC who really knew him, their love for him was unwavering. Despite his problems, you knew he was 100% about the people of DC. He was no joke to us. In a way, his problems endeared him to even more to DC. Just like the rest of us, he wasn't perfect, and people could relate to that. The son of a Mississippi sharecropper came to D.C. to fight for the poor and disenfranchised. He was a civil rights leader who never gave up on them, and they never gave up on him. The fact that he came back and won the mayor's seat again after being set up in that drug sting is proof of that. One thing you always hear people talk about is their first job through Mayor Barry's summer jobs program, which we just covered a few seconds ago. If you were a kid in DC during Barry's tenure and you wanted a job, he had one for you. I can't tell you the difference this made in so many lives, which again, we just told you about as my personal experience. As sad as I am, I'm also glad to have known that this man who did so much for the people of DC and inspired so many across the country. Maya Angelou put it so well in 1999 when she said Marion Barry changed America with his unimaginated gall to stand up in the ashes of where he had fallen and come back to win. Now there's a lesson for us all. He would go on to say, the first time I met him was at his first inaugural ball in 1979. I was the DJ for the party, and he came over to the turntables, got on the mic with me, and we all chanted, "It's a new day." We've been friends ever since. It is indeed a new day, a day that started with tears for me, but I have no doubt will end with a joyful smile, filled with deep appreciation for the outpouring of love that was showered down on our friend Marion Barry, our mayor for life. You know, I didn't realize until just now that that title expires today. It really doesn't matter though, because his inspiration is eternal, and that needs no title. Rest in peace, Mr. Mayor. Very good words by Donnie Simpson. Very good words indeed. Definitely will be missed. You know, if you're keeping track as far as within the past 5 years have gone, when you think of DC, you think about two big icons. Chuck Brown, who died in 2012, Marion Barry. Age difference only 3 years apart, believe it or not. Very shockingly right there. But I mean, that's two iconic DC figures that we've lost in the past 5 years. Does it get any bigger than Marion Barry? I'm sure he will definitely be missed. I definitely will miss the guy. And to kind of follow up on what Donnie had said, yeah, he definitely was the butt-in joke for a lot of stuff. But I tell you what, if there was ever an individual that truly embodies overcoming adversity, constantly defeating the odds, being the people's champion, definitely Marion Barry. I definitely want to know what you guys think about the passing of Marion Barry. So again, whether you loved him or you hate him, it doesn't matter. I want y'all to come together, post your comments down below. We'll definitely follow up on what you all have to say on our next radio edition of the RCWR show, which you can catch out Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern on Spreaker.com. If you can't catch it live, you can catch it on the downloads, as it'll be available on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher. Just use the keywords the RCWR show, or you can check out the links that we have available in this episode description. If you enjoyed our coverage of this, make sure you give this a thumbs up. You can also share it a number of ways by Facebooking, Google Plusing, and retweeting. As always, it's one of the many ways to spread a good word about our content. Until next go round, please be safe and most importantly, be kind to one another. We'll see you next go round. Everybody, do take care.